I needed that escape. I was at the lowest point in my life. And when you are that low, the high road is too fucking far away. Like, I don't have time to be trying to figure out the best way to get. I just need something to keep me going, because at this pace, I don't want any of this stuff. None of this is worth it, you know? And so it was a very difficult time. And as weird as it is to say, like, dating was this kind of source of, you know, happiness or joy, it absolutely was. And even though I recognize that you don't want those things to be that source for anything of fulfillment, you are where you are. And that's where I was. Welcome back to Lex Talk. My name is Alexis, and the purpose of this channel is to have real conversations about life, love, and relationships, because I believe, it is my belief, that there is healing at the intersection of our struggles. And so I think that we should talk about them. Let's get it out there. Let's all understand what we're going through, so we don't feel so alone in these things. So a couple weeks ago, I spoke about dating in my 30s and all of the different changes in the dating scene and in me that have happened since I was in my 20s. And today I wanted to talk about some of the added layers of divorce and being a single mom or a single parent, because both of those things definitely change my approach to dating. And it also changes the way that people approach me. So first off, I want to address, I mentioned that I was on this dating scene early in the process of my like separation and divorce. Like, no business early, like borderline girl, what are you doing? But after I said that, after that episode, I thought back and I was like, it's not as bad as I made it seem. I mean, at least not to me. It's probably bad to other people that aren't me, but I also don't care about that. But let me set it up. Let me set up the timeline. So my ex and I, our official date of separation was in early February. This was back in 2021. I was on my first dating app by the end of March, y'all. So, early February to the end of March, that's actually technically like 2 months, you know, but you know, it is what it is. And then I was on my first date by mid to late April, y'all. So maybe the span of 2 to 3 months, I went from being a whole wife to being on dates, which definitely seems kind of crazy. But the reality of the situation is my ex asked for the divorce in early October, the October before. So that was 6 or 7 months prior to this time. So, I mean, maybe that's still not a lot of time to some people, but either way, for me, my mind had already been exposed to the reality of divorce and this whole like ripping myself away from this relationship. I was already having to get used to that, even if everything wasn't finalized. So it was a big deal for me long before the time that I actually started dating or getting out there. But, you know, it is what it is. It still might be, you know, a short time to some, but I think, you know, to each his own. And I very much think that it was appropriate for me, and I'll, you know, discuss why later. But anyways, that being said, I do understand why most people advise to take some time before you jump back into the dating pool, because it is good to give yourself time to heal and grieve and basically just reflect on your past relationship, reflect on what went well, what didn't go so well, what things you may have contributed, good or bad, what things your ex may have contributed, basically so that you can at least take those things and learn from them and not just repeat them in your next relationship. And also you want to make sure that you're not just transferring a whole bunch of unresolved emotions to your new partner or whatever the case may be. So I do understand that it's a good idea to do that. And also it's good to take some time to kind of reset and reevaluate what your needs are today in this current season, because if you are in a relationship for any length of time, most of the time we start to exist as a version of ourselves that is only present in the context of that relationship. And what I mean by that is, for instance, if my ex was good at finances, even if I'm good at finances, if say he's the one that's taking the lead on that in our relationship, my skills are basically in hibernation mode, so they're there, but they're not honed like they typically are when I'm using them actively. And so over the course of my 9-year relationship, almost a decade, coming out of that, it's like I gotta dust all those skills off. I gotta kind of reactivate them. And so I think that coming out of one, having to hit the reset button on yourself, it is almost like when you go to buy a new perfume or smell some kind of fragrances, and you have to smell the coffee beans to kind of reset your palate. That's the same kind of thing. You got to reset yourself so that you're able to like really understand where your new baseline is, because all those skill sets that are kind of dormant just need to be awakened so that they can be, so that they're up for grabs, that you can use them and apply them in your relationships going forward, because you didn't have to use them in that past relationship, but maybe you're the one that's going to be the finance person in the next relationship. So it's time to like dig back into your bag and see everything that you have to offer, and make sure that you're aware of what you have to offer so that you can, put it out there. But that being said, I myself, in my situation, waiting to be fully healed wasn't realistic for me at this point. Like, given everything that I had going on between trying to care for an infant by myself. Now, I mean, of course, we had time sharing, but the time that she was with me, I had help at part of it, but then the help disappeared. So anyways, that's another story. But having to deal with an infant and fresh off maternity leave, so having to reacclimate to working full time, and just the logistics of divorce, having to figure out my new living situation, again, while working full time and caring for an infant with no child care for a good minute. As much as I believe in God's promises and I trust in God and his plan for my life, I couldn't cling to it. And it wasn't because I didn't have the strength to cling to it. It was because I had already used that shit. I used that strength when I had to pull myself together and show up at work while my life was blowing the fuck up around me. I used it when I was trying to survive off of 3 hours of sleep each night for months while I was breastfeeding my daughter, pumping around the clock and going to work full time, trying to figure out my living situation without childcare, again, working full time. I was spent. I was spunt, y'all. You hear me? I had nothing left to give. And so as much hard shit that I had going on at one time, there was just no way. Literally, it was like a pit of despair behind every fucking tear that I held back. If I were to let one of them bitches go, I would have instantly succumbed to all of the anguish and darkness that was just waiting for me to be like, girl, this is too much. Go ahead and give up. So at this time, all I wanted was a little glimpse of happiness, whether it was real, whether it was fake, whether it was temporary. I needed that escape. I was at the lowest point in my life. And when you are that low, the high road is too fucking far away. I don't have time to be trying to figure out the best way to get. I just need something to keep me going, because at this pace, I don't want any of this stuff. None of this is worth it, And so it was a very difficult time. And as weird as it is to say, dating was this kind of source of, happiness or joy, it absolutely was. And even though I recognize that you don't want those things to be that source for anything of fulfillment, you are where you are. And that's where I was. And I am so grateful that I had that outlet, because it provided so many things. And, kind of going back to the need to reset and reevaluate, I absolutely think that dating can be a really helpful tool in that process. It definitely was for me. Now, don't get me wrong, it's not for everybody. I don't believe that everybody has the personality or disposition to date in a way that is helpful. But if you do, and I think I do. I think that the more objective that you are, the more suited or the more likely you are to be able to use dating as a tool. Because it's not dating for the sake of marriage or relationship. I'm talking about casually dating, in which things are not serious. Maybe they can turn into something serious, but they're not entered into with this kind of longevity. And I will say my mindset probably wasn't that, but the way that I was moving, it kind of was. So I'm sorry to those of you out there that got caught up in my little whirlwind, but it is what it is. But yeah, so I think that if you are not an objective person, if you are a person that is more emotionally leaning, then dating casually might not be a good choice for you. It can definitely cause a lot of trouble. Your emotions will be thrown all over the place, because the dating scene period has a whole bunch of like ups and downs. Everybody's on a different page. You can't ever expect or depend on someone to be on the same page as you. And so that being said, emotions at the forefront, it can be a very, treacherous place to be. But again, if you are able to be objective, I do think that it can be a very useful tool that can teach you a lot about yourself and what you are looking for in a partner. And that's something that was super eye-opening for me, because I didn't recognize. I'll explain. So my ex had everything that I wanted on paper, but in reality, it was not the case. And don't get me wrong, it's not like I was happy in my marriage. I was happy in my relationship. We had issues, but in my mind, they were regular relationship issues, nothing serious. But, and still, there are people out there that are probably better suited for me and I for them. Two things can very much be true. There's a lot of people that are out there that are not well suited for each other, that are in happy and successful relationships. It just depends on their, commitment to make it work and stuff like that. And it's just, so I think that it's a rarity that people find the person that they have, tons of chemistry with and just click, or maybe it's not a rarity, but I think that it is something to be cherished and not expected, especially with people that are kind of in the same boat as me that got married young. Because, again, like I mentioned before, going through this process of evolution and change as you transition into adulthood, a lot of times you realize that the person that you had this, great vibe with when you was just a wee lad, y'all don't really be aligning as well in your adult years. And I just think that a lot of people are in that situation, and it doesn't mean that their relationship is bad. Like, they work through it, and it's good. Things are all good. It's just different. And make no mistake, let me be clear. There are a lot of people with a whole lot of chemistry in trash ass relationships. So that's not like, a automatic cheat code or anything like that. It just might make it a little bit easier or more pleasant to deal with all the bullshit that just comes with relationships in general. And so, yeah, I think that we get what we require out of relationships. So then back to dating, it gives us this opportunity to determine what it is that we require by, cleansing our palate and allowing us to take in new experiences and not just experience things through the lens of our past, which is often, I think, what we do. And this is the part that was eye-opening for me, recognizing that, like, my ex is not the standard. So, for instance, if my ex was a man that didn't like to cook or didn't cook, even if I know that there are men out there that exist that do cook, it's very likely that my experience with my ex will shape my view of what's out there. Now, being able to interact with a number of guys through these dating apps and whatnot, and find out that a bunch of them love to cook. In fact, that's their thing. That's going to have a different effect on my perspective. It's going to begin to shape my view of the dating pool in a different way. And as a result, my preferences are going to be different. If you think that the only colors that exist are red and blue, your preferences are probably going to be somewhere between red, blue, and purple, But if you know that there are way more colors out there, your preferences might expand, And so, yeah, I think that that's something that that dating allows you to do, that your singleness, that is difficult to do on your own. I think you can do some of this stuff or learn some of these things just by way of friendships. And when I say dating, it doesn't mean that these are all like relationships. It's the interactions, like I meet a bunch of people that I don't date, that I don't even develop a romantic interest for. We just met the minimum requirements of, you look good enough, your resume looks okay, let's give it a shot and see. But, that first conversation may say that, oh, no, we're just going to be friends, or, oh, we don't have any business in the same setting together at all. But you're able to be exposed to a way of thinking or a way of moving about the world. And even if you don't do it through like the dating platform, I don't know. I just feel like my end goal is something romantic in nature. And if I'm a basketball player, I'm not going to train on a football field. I also enjoy the process. So it's just my preference, but I do think that it is very helpful if it, aligns with your life and your goals, which for me, I think it does. And so ultimately, I think that it really just helps, again, shape your view of what you want. And it's kind of like test driving, and you don't have to put a whole bunch of miles on the car to test drive. Like you might just open the door, sit in the front seat, and push all the buttons. Take it as far as you want. Take it for a spin if you want. But I enjoy that process and being able to curate my desire, my needs in real time, and not just theoretically, my list in my head that doesn't really have any experiential backing. It just isn't nearly as strong as dating a guy for a little bit and realizing, oh, that's what that really is lived out, And then on the other side of that coin, it also tells you a lot about who you are as a person. One thing's for sure, two things for certain. If you are dating or if you are interacting with a number of people and you are getting the same response, it's your ass. Especially when, these people don't know each other from Adam. Like, you are the common denominator, sir or madam. It is you. And it is definitely a very humbling experience to hear things that my ex dealt with, echoed in complete strangers that don't even agree with his like theology or the way that he moves, based on, of course, the way that I tell it. But yeah, completely different personalities, but having similar outcomes in certain, not completely, but certain things. For instance, I have come to find out that I have, really strong reactions sometimes that aren't fully thought out. But in my mind at the moment, it's like, this is where you stand. That's it. Run with it. And so I find myself sabotaging a lot of relationships early on because of whatever is going on in my head that I have made this, unwavering allegiance to, or whatever the case may be. So, and I do think that this is something that you can't really experience in a friendship or an acquaintanceship. It's because the investment isn't there. But in any kind of like dating or semi like romantic relationship, I think you're able to get this kind of feedback, because when you are interacting with a friend or an acquaintance, there's, like I said, it's not the same investment. So you might not get the full reaction to your personality or to the way that you are, because you go your separate ways, or the person just doesn't care for you in that way to be moved to respond. It's just a different level of interaction. All right. So moving on from there, the next step in this, I guess, journey would be dating exclusively. And I will definitely say, I've dabbled in this in my time being single, but I haven't had any success. But this is definitely a lot harder after a failed marriage than I thought it would be. Because especially being somebody that wanted very much to be to find a long-term partner again. It's like at the first sight of any type of struggle or disagreement or whatever, one of my first thoughts is he gonna quit? Is he gonna give up? Is he gonna last? Because in my previous relationship, I was so confident in my relationship, even with all the shit that was happening. The way that I saw it was, okay, it's just regular relationship issues. This is, people die every day, B. Like, this is just regular. Not knowing or recognizing that my ex had complete autonomy to not feel the same way. And so that just kind of opened my eyes to, no matter my staying power, my person may or may not have the same staying power. And so now it's like, I'm sorry, I know y'all had to hear that car going by. But anyways, I definitely have PTSD, because it's like, how can I'm trying desperately to create a fail-safe relationship, and the reality is that's just not possible. There's a level of risk that is inherent in being in a relationship that you just have to accept. But I don't know how many divorced people think this, but it is that thought, like, bitch, I can't do this shit again. Like, I am not going through another divorce. I'm not investing this much time in a person to have it squandered and have to start over and deal with them for the rest of my life, But at the same time, I'm sure nobody that's on their second, third, fourth marriage ever thought that they would be in that space. It's kind of, you just end up there and you either die or you keep going, I guess you could say that you won't ever, get married again, but that just who are you proving it to? You're the one that's going to be alone. Like, it just doesn't seem like the hill that anybody wants to die on, unless they just didn't have a desire to be, or with somebody, because it's not even that marriage is the end all be all, but that companionship. So yeah, it's kind of, it's definitely something that I have to work through. Or maybe it just takes the partner to make me feel that. And so I like, as I'm saying this, I'm hearing those levels of insecure attachment styles. And it's funny because I don't think that it existed before this relationship ended. I've always been, I have a high level of confidence and understand objectively where people might stand with me, but there's something different about, for one, choosing to marry somebody. Basically, when you choose to marry somebody, you're saying, I picked this person out of all the people to try this hard shit with because I believe in it. I believe in us. And to realize that your judgment was so fucking far off, it's like, I don't know if I should be the one in the driver's seat of this thing going forward. And so it just becomes like a real big thing that's in the back of your mind. This person that chose me, that has seen all of me, all that my soul has to bear, every part of me, and chose to walk away from it, that hits you in a different kind of place. All the confidence in the world, that is a setback. And so I do recognize that there are some negative effects on my self-esteem, and just my confidence. I'm still very much confident in who I am, but I'm not confident in who other people are or how they see me, and trying to find someone that sees me as I see me or sees me as God sees me. That's a whole struggle I don't really know how to overcome, but I digress. It is an issue that is difficult for me, and I would imagine that it might be difficult for other people that have gone through a breakup from a long-term relationship or marriage. Another thing that happens dating after divorce or as a single parent is you're now part of a different pool of daters, and your preferences have likely changed as well. At least in my experience, when I'm coming across other, divorcees or single parents, I would much rather find a guy that has a kid or two than a single guy that is out here living his best life. And as far as divorce, give me a divorcee, please. A fresh divorcee that is ready to do this thing again. Because on the divorce and the perspective is about mindset and staying power. Because for one, somebody that is divorced that is looking to date is choosing to get back into this institution because they believe in it. Because if they didn't, they would just stay out of it forever. So it is somebody that is choosing to make this level of commitment when they know what it's all about. That says a whole lot. And then the mindset part is, again, knowing what it's all about. Like, it's kind of, I guess this club that you join when you're married, of knowing how difficult this shit is. The same thing with parenthood. Something that you just can't truly understand fully until you experience it. And so dating, it's like, yeah, give me the person that knows what the fuck they're talking about. Give me the person that has been through this and understands what it takes, whether or not they were successful or not, recognizing the level of effort that it will take. Period. That it's a lot. And it was a lot before I got married, but it's a lot after I got married, like really understanding what that looks like materialized, because before that it's all like head knowledge. But after going through it, it's like, oh, this is the real. So, I definitely prefer somebody that kind of has those, notches on the belt is the wrong term because it makes it seem like this is good. No, divorce is bad. It's terrible. But it's nice to have somebody that knows exactly what they're signing up for. And also somebody that understands what the fuck you're going through. Because, listen, it is complex. Dating after divorce and all of the ties that have to be broken and all the ways that you can't break them, that you're still connected to this person that you shared all of your life with for a good chunk of time. And to someone that has not been through it, it can really look like, oh, boo, you are damaged, or you are not ready for me, or there's no space for me, or this is too complicated, or this is messy, when it's not, it isn't, I can't say it's not messy, but it's not as bad as it might seem to somebody that doesn't understand. But when you are with somebody that does, like, the conversation flows so much easier. It's like, I get it. That's it. That's it. You don't have to go through all these laborious details of trying to frame this thing so this person can understand this foreign concept. Same thing happens with kids. But with kids, the approach to dating is more from the perspective of time and empathy. Yeah, so especially when you have little kids, young kids, ain't no time, B. Like, ain't no time. The time that I have, use it wisely. If you call me and I don't answer, don't take it personally. I don't have time to care about what you feel about those things because I've spent it all on my child. You are going to come second, and I don't want to have to explain this to you. I just want you to get it, because it can sound like trash to somebody that is trying to get to know you. But if that person has a kid, they get it, yo. They get it. They don't question it. It's just a level of empathy that is so fucking refreshing. Like, it means the world. Give me somebody with a couple babies, or a baby that, that's fine, that is present in their life, that understands the responsibilities, the commitment of parenthood, that just is. Schedules suck. Trying to arrange things around your child's schedule, again, especially when they're young. I don't have time for somebody that's trying to take me on a trip to Abu Dhabi. Bitch, I can't go. I can't go today. Like, don't ask me. And I also, by the same token, I don't want to stop you from living your life. I have lived a lot of life. I've had a great time. I've traveled a bunch of places, and having a child was a choice. We planned our daughter, and so that's a whole nother story. But so we waited until we had done the things that we had wanted to do in life before we made that jump. And so I'm not sad right now that I can't do all the things. Like, I'm going to get, and it's just a period. And also that's my choice, because there are absolutely ways for parents to do things while they have children, but it's a lot of work, and I haven't put the effort to that direction because, again, I'm not pressed right now for that. Like, in a couple years, maybe I'll, loosen up the reins and I'll be doing more stuff. But right now I need somebody that's okay with, a weekend trip here or there. That's it. I don't want to feel like I'm holding you back, and I don't want you to be all up in my face trying to push me forward, because this is where I am and I need you to accept it. Oh yeah, another thing is the awkward position in the family dynamic. Like, I don't want someone that, first of all, my daughter has a father. I'm not looking for somebody to be her daddy at all. You don't even need to meet her for quite some time. But I do need someone that is comfortable plugging in the way that makes sense and doesn't feel awkward, in a way that a lot of that awkwardness is circumvented. I think that's the word. Is if they have a child of their own. It doesn't feel nearly as weird, because otherwise it kind of feels like, the ice cream truck Candyman, like coming to be somebody daddy when you ain't their daddy. But if they have a child, it's like they know how to be a father, and two, they understand the implications. They understand the proximity. They know boundaries, because they are going to treat your child the way they want someone to treat theirs, So as long as you guys are both on the same page with that, then it should be good. But it just makes it a whole lot more comfortable when you got yours and I got mine. And then if we come together and we make a child together, great. But we already know how to do this thing, It just makes it a little cleaner. in my opinion. And so, yeah. So being divorced, being a single parent on the dating scene, it definitely has its challenges, but those same challenges also kind of turn into benefits. So, a friend of mine, we've discussed this at length. So because I have a kid, because I'm like out of a marriage, I don't mind that in a partner. And as I just mentioned, I actually look for that in a partner. But I also am open to people that don't have kids or people that haven't been married before. So basically it just broadened my dating pool for things that I'm willing to accept. Because a lot of times if I don't have those things, if I'm out here single, no kids, never been married, no drama, all that stuff, that's like a tagline. And a lot of times you're looking for that same thing too. You don't want to go into your first marriage when they're on their second, third, or fourth. Some people, and that's just some people. Again, I've been talking to plenty of guys that fit this exact bill and have no problem with it. A lot of it has to do with simply our age range, where at this point, more than likely, they're going to have a kid or they've been married before. It just comes with the territory. But it's less of for me, it's not like a blemish. It's cool with me. It's completely okay either way. But like I said, I do prefer somebody that comes from the same place as I do. Yeah, I mentioned it here. It's kind of like someone that goes to war, like they're part of this club. It's not something that people want to be in, but it does create this bond. So it's both an extremely terrifying experience, but also transcendent experience where you're able to connect on a level that civilians around you just can't identify with. It's like, again, you didn't want that trauma to be the thing that binds you, but it is. And it binds you in a way that no one else can understand. That's what it is, y'all. All right. So I'm sure I have more thoughts as always. And if so, I'll just put it in another episode. But I did want to go ahead and touch on some of these things that I didn't get to mention in the Dating in My 30s episode. So I thank you guys as always for rocking with me. Y'all, give me some feedback on what topics really move you, what topics you want to hear more about, and even just the format. I'm definitely trying to get some insight on the analytics and understanding, long format. Is that what y'all like? Do y'all prefer more short bursts, clips, all that stuff? So yeah, I definitely would love to hear your opinion, because sometimes, the analytics are going to talk about what most people want, but I am not necessarily concerned with the people that are not interested in this brand, that might do numbers. I'm more concerned with the people that I connect with, and it may be less of you, and that's okay. I'm not getting paid for this shit anyway, so may as well do it for the right reasons. But anyways, like, share, please do subscribe, please do engage, talk back to me. It makes it easier. It definitely is encouraging and helps me know that it's meaningful to somebody, because if it's not, it's just me on a soapbox, and I'm not here for that. But also that's what all the algorithms understand is engagement. So if you feel something, say something, whether it's in my DM or whether it's underneath the comments. All of it is appreciated. So Lex Talk, LEXTLK on all the podcast streaming platforms. On social media, it's is_Alexis. That's ISS_Alexis. No E, no I, double S. If that is confusing, just check my bio. Something that I didn't know ahead of time. But anyways, I had fun this episode. This is definitely something that I want to talk about. I will be getting into some other heavier topics that I can't wait to share, because I know that there needs to be a platform for people to hear about these things and discuss these things. So anyways, talk to you guys later. I can't wait to see you in another episode. All right. Bye.